ありがとな親父。あとは任せろ。
How's it going, everybody? It's Young here, and welcome to Day 5 of the Final Fantasy XV Countdown Retrospective. Before you proceed, I highly recommend you check out Day 6, in which I discussed Game Informer's month-long coverage of Final Fantasy XV for April 2016. In this video, I'll be discussing news for the month of May 2016. There is a lot to talk about, so without further ado, let's dive right into it. Now, one thing I would like to get out of the way is that there are a couple of things that I didn't cover from Game Informer's April 2016 coverage. I talked about the most important points, but if you go to their Final Fantasy XV hub, you will also find segments in which the editors answer fan questions based on what they saw of the game during their coverage. They showcase some new artwork, etc. Nothing vital, but still worth mentioning. Be sure to check the hub out if you're curious about that. So that takes care of news for the month of April 2016, and now let's move on to May. Halfway through the month, on May 17th, 2016, website IGN released a brand new exclusive video showcasing what combat and magic looks like at high levels. Check it out. Moving on, 2 days later, on May 19th, 2016, IGN released another exclusive Final Fantasy XV video, this time showcasing the game's day and night cycle. Here's what that looks like. Following the release of this footage, 6 days later, on May 25th, 2016, IGN released part 1 of a documentary-style video called The Long Road to Final Fantasy XV, through which developers not only shared their experience from creating Final Fantasy XV, but also shared some new footage of the highly anticipated title. Check it out.
FF を作るにあたって一番大事にしているのは挑戦することです。で FF っていうものが自分にとってどういうものかというと FF に取り組むと全力で挑戦をするのでものすごく成長させてもらえる取り組みになるんだよね。だから自分をすごく成長させてくれる取り組みっていうのが本当に FF そのものかな。 でその理由は僕が得意なのがチーム作り、組織作りだからだと思います。そこに今回は重点を置いた取り組みにするべきだと会社が判断したんではないかと。だけどそうやってやっぱりチームをしっかりと作って、そのチームのみんなとチームのメンバーたちと目標を達成するごとにどんどんみんなが成長していってここまでたどり着いているので、そういう意味ではすごくエピックなストーリーを僕らは体験しながらエピックなストーリーのゲームを作ってるっていうような感じかな。それはその大事なそのクラシックな要素と今回近代化させた新しい要素っていうのを融合させることができているのが今回の「ファイナルファンタジー15」が最高である最も端的な理由だと思うんだけど、それはさっき言ったように歴代のスタッフと新しいスタッフとの融合した素晴らしいチームができたからかなっていうふうに思ってますね。
FF15 に昔からファイナルファンタジーに携わっている人たちが参加している意義というのは、やはりRPG としての FF を、これはかなり僕個人の考えというか主観に近い感じなんですけど、今までの経験を生かしてそれにプラスアルファということでより強い力を出せるのではないかなというところが大きいかなと思います。先ほど僕が話したみたいにやはりシステムとかなんかでも一部は昔のいいものが残してさらにそこに新しいものを付け加えるということで、合計のパワーを増やすことができるなというところが非常に大きなところだと思っています。
だから昔のそのクラシックなファイナルファンタジーを好きだった人からするとどんなキャラクターなのか想像するのが楽しかった人たちから僕らの仕事っていうのはその想像をやや奪ってしまう側面もありはするんですよ。だからこそそのディティールとかそういったものを今チームのみんなと一緒にどこまでもそのリアリティだとかその想像を奪うけれどもその代わりここまで追い込んで見たことないものを表現してそれをユーザーの皆さんに届けるっていうところは心がけてます。でちょっと余談なんですけどこの前キャラクターの、ピクセルアートノクトたちのピクセルアートをちょっと久々にこうちょっと描いてみたりとかしてピクセルで表現してみたんですけどキングスグレーブの、ニックスたちもちょっとディレクターの野瀬に頼まれてそのピクセルを起こしてみたんですけどやっぱり変わらずやっぱり FF のキャラなんだなって自分たちもそのピクセルアートを見てこうほっとしたっていうか変わらない FF なんだなっていうのはちょっとやっぱり思いました。
今回、オマージュっていう意味では結構モンスターは広くオマージュをしていて天野義高さんのデザインをとかかつてドットで登場したモンスターを多く採用していてそれを今回リアルな表現でどう見せるかっていうところでたくさんのオマージュが入っています。
今回15で挑戦してるのはねまずねファイナルファンタジーそのものを近代化するっていうことにまず一つ挑戦してます。以前ファイナルファンタジーはカッティングエッジな RPG だったことがやっぱりあるのでそういう姿を取り戻したくて今取り戻すんであればどこに挑戦すればいいかと考えてウエスタンのトリプル A の RPG に挑戦するというふうに目標を決めてやってますね。
そうですね。ぜひこう15でユーザーの皆さんに経験してもらいたい体験してもらいたいことそうですね。僕自身もこれから完成してまたもう一回プレイはしていきますけれどもやっぱり今回その仲間たちとの旅そうやって今までちょっとお話してきたような、一部ですけど紹介したそのキャラクターの作られ方してきてその彼らがこう仲間となって実際に自分たちの周りを行く今までみたいにこう後ろをついていくようなキャラクターたちではなくて自分たちで考えてそして喜怒哀楽があって動き回るキャラクターたちそれとの旅っていうのは他のゲームではなかなか経験できないことだとは思います。そこはぜひ楽しみにしてもらいたいですしそんな彼らをどんなドラマが待ち受けてるかそこをぜひ楽しんでもらえると嬉しいなと思います。
過去のファイナルファンタジーと比べて今、FF15 がユニークなところに関して言えば、一つはやはりアクション性というところだと思います。これは、プレイヤーと、キャラクターというのの、 関係を非常に密接にというか、直感的に結びつけるというところであって、これは、過去の FF にはなかったところだと思います。そしてもう一つ軸としてあるのが、オープンワールドというところで、過去の作品においては自由に敵と戦ったり自由に旅をするということはできなかったんですけど、そこの2つの、部分に関して、ユニークに新しいことをやっていると思っています。今回の「ファイナルファンタジー」が史上最高というのはって言われるのは僕も同じ考えで、なぜかというと、ファイナルファンタジーって僕の考え方で言うとかなり全部入りっていう考え方が近いんですよね。全部入りっていうのはとにかく全ての要素を入れるということがあって、でそういう意味ですと先ほど言ったオープンワールドですとか、バトル中に武器を切り替えられるところですとか、あとは魔法合成もそうですし、仲間が AI で動くというところもあって、旧来の FF のRPG 的なところは捨てないで、さらに新しい要素をとにかく全部入れ込んだというのはすごいボリュームである。もちろんストーリーとか何のかの要素も抜いてるわけではなくて、何もかけさせないで新たにリファインしてさらに付け加えたという意味で史上最高の FF だと僕も思ってます。
僕はすごく貴重な環境で貴重な仕事をさせてもらってるなっていうのをすごく思います。それは正直に言えば最初はスクエアエニックスに入った時それほど FF というものに対する敬意を僕は持ってなかったんだけども、でも関わるにつれて FF そのものやファンや開発者に対する敬意がすごく大きくなっていったんだね。それで今10年ちょっとこの会社にいてナンバリングを担当できているっていうのは本当に光栄だなっていうふうに率直に思う。10年前は一切思ってもなかったけど、今は FF の歴史に何らか貢献できることはすごくね誇らしいですね。喜ばしいし。
With that out of the way, let's move on to May 26th, 2016. On this date, Square Enix released a ton of new information and screenshots of Kingsglaive Final Fantasy XV, the CG movie that shows Niflheim's invasion of Lucis from Nyx, Luna, and King Regis's perspective, rather than from Noctis and Cruz. Website Gematsu did a really good job with summarizing all the information, so I'll go ahead and present their article. It begins by reiterating the synopsis of Kingsglaive that was first released shortly after the uncovered event, which goes as follows. The magical kingdom of Lucis is home to the hallowed crystal, but the menacing empire of Niflheim will stop at nothing to make it theirs. War has raged between the two for as long as most can remember. King Regis of Lucis commands an elite force of soldiers dubbed the Kingsglaive. Wielding their king's magic, Nyx Ulrich and his fellow Glaives stand before the crown city of Insomnia, fighting to stay the inexorable advance of Niflheim's imperial army. Before the overwhelming military might of the empire, King Regis can only salvage his kingdom by accepting an ultimatum. He must cede all lands outside the crown city and see his son, Prince Noctis, wed to Lady Luna Freya, the former princess of Tenebrae, now captive of Niflheim. As the War of Wills rages, the machinations of Niflheim transform Insomnia into an awe-inspiring battleground, pulling Nyx into a struggle for the very survival of the kingdom. The article then proceeds by providing screenshots and synopsis of the movie's main characters, starting with Nyx Ulrich, whose description states, the protagonist of this film and a member of the Kingsglaive Guard under the direct control of the king. When he was a boy, he was saved by King Regis during the war, and feels indebted to him for it. He excels in battle and has a high affinity for the magical power of the royal family. Next up is Luna Freya Nox Florette, and her description states, an oracle able to communicate directly with the gods, who bears the burden of using that power for the purification of the world. Even now, she considers the moment she spent with Noctis during her childhood as important. She was supposed to go to Altesia to be married to Noctis, but she is headed towards the capital, Insomnia, to make an agreement with King Lucis. Then we have some of the supporting characters, starting with Drautos, the general in charge of the Kingsglaive Guard. Although extremely tough on both himself and on others, he values those who force themselves to great efforts. He is Nyx's master when it comes to fighting. Also, without spoiling anything, I think some of you might know who Drautos really ended up being in the movie. Next, we have Libertus Ostium, Nyx's close friend from his hometown. He has a bright personality and strong sense of responsibility, and can also be both emotional and stubborn. Below that is Luce Lazarus, a man who acknowledges himself as in a leader-like position of the Kingsglaive Guard, and whose intelligence has gained him the trust of Guard's members. Last but not least is Crow Altius, a great magic user who has a few special abilities. A native of the Lucis frontier, she grew up an orphan. She considers the members of the Kingsglaive Guard her family. The article finally concluded by showcasing some screenshots that Square Enix made public that day. I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with this movie by now, so I don't think it's necessary for me to talk about these all that much, but something that website Nova Crystallis noticed is that the painting of the Goddess of Death Etro from Versus 13 could be found in one of the screenshots. Whether this is a simple homage to the Versus 13 days, or if Etros will end up playing a role after all, despite Tabata having stated that this aspect of Versus 13 had been scrapped, is hard to say at this point. Finally, for the month of May, on May 31st, 2016, Square Enix released some more new Final Fantasy XV information and footage, starting with a brand new gameplay video dedicated to Chocobos. Check it out. This was then followed by an article on the game's official Japanese blog, updating Noctis and crew's character profiles, adding information such as age, birthday, height, and favorite things. Here's what the blog post stated according to Gematsu's translation. Noctis Lucis Calum, age 20, birthday August 30th, height 176 centimeters, favorite thing, updating a game's high score. Heir apparent to the Lucian throne, Noctis' trials begin when he sets forth from the Crown City in order to wed the Lady Lunafreya Nox Florette. In combat, he wields spectral weapons, which he forges from thin air, a power possessed by those of his royal line. Ignis Scientia, age 22, birthday February 7th, height 183 centimeters, favorite thing, inventing new food recipes. Ignis was raised alongside Prince Noctis to be an advisor to the heir apparent. An intensive education instilled in him, the resourcefulness and composure required for the role, his tactical acumen proving invaluable over the course of the prince's journey. Gladiolus Amicitia, age 23, birthday April 2nd, height 198 centimeters. Favorite thing? Camping with Coleman, a real brand for tents and stuff, by the way. The Amicitia family has long served as the shield, protecting the kings of Lucis and their household, and Gladiolus is its eldest son. The bond he shares with Noctis transcends that of a bodyguard and his liege. With his prodigious strength, he stands ever ready to keep his companions from harm. Prompto Argentum, age 20, birthday October 25th, height 173 centimeters. Favorite thing? Taking pictures. Fast friends with Noctis since they met as teenagers, Prompto is a young man of common birth who finds himself out of his depth when tragedy befalls Lucis. Nevertheless, he strives to carry more than his own weight, lightening his companions' burdens as well as their spirits. Finally, the month ended with a brand new episode of Square Enix's Active Time Report, through which Tabata detailed even more information about the upcoming game. Here are some bullet points of the important bits compiled by Gematsu. You can't climb. There's a system similar to a skill tree. You can also learn new abilities. The game isn't set in an open world where you can freely go wherever you like. Since there is a main quest, the more you progress, the more places you'll be able to go. The action isn't very difficult. It's an RPG through and through that everybody can enjoy. The game will have difficulty settings, which will be discussed more at E3. The second episode of Brotherhood Final Fantasy XV will come out around E3. By the way, episode 1 had been released shortly following the Uncovered event from March 30th, 2016. There are 7 types of standard weapon categories, and each category has a variety of weapons. Combined with a Phantom Sword, there are even more categories within itself. There won't be a gallery mode in the final version, but there are plans to make it after the game is finished. There are no plans for a camera mode. Cars are faster than Chocobos. The white-hooded man from the E3 2013 trailer is still in the game. In response to a user concerned about the downgraded graphics of the Platinum demo, who asked when we'll see the graphics of the actual product, the response was, please look forward to E3. On putting out an Ignis cookbook, if you're in publishing, by all means make us an offer. There are no plans for an Ultimate Edition without the Noctis action figure. You can't control the boat. You can control the camera, however. There aren't just 10 songs from previous Final Fantasy games to listen to in the car. There is an abundance of songs to enjoy. Since there are law restrictions and such per country, being able to play your own music in the game is a difficult thing to implement. You can save at any time, not just at camp. You can return to areas you have previously visited so long as it's before the last boss. You can fast travel by choosing campsites and such from the map. In response to why did you develop the game for 10 years, Tsubasa said it's not like they decided from the beginning that they were going to develop the game for that long. Facial and hair designs for Prompto were altered after receiving negative feedback so that users around the world would better receive the game. Hajime Tabata's favorite character is Noctis, and Akio Ofuji's is Prompto. There are no plans to release a soldier-style Cloud costume from the Final Fantasy VII movie as downloadable content. You'll get a game over if you fail to land the car from flight. It's not that difficult though. There are many parts based on the real experiences of the staff. Some of it is also influenced by a trip to Europe that Tabata went on in his 20s. You can give Chocobos buffs through meals. The Lucis government is a friendly one compared to the Shinzo Abe administration. Let's stop there. Tabata wants to release a bundle, but that's up to Sony Interactive Entertainment. He'd like it if it could happen. After development on the game wraps up, Tabata promised Saga creator Akitoshi Kawazu that he would clear Final Fantasy II. Tabata is planning a countdown to midnight release livestream on September 29th. Tabata attributes Noctis drinking ebony in Brotherhood to the behavior of a young person drinking coffee to be cool, since Noctis says he hates it in episode Du Sky. The name Ebony, which is both the name of the development tool and Ignis's favorite coffee, comes from the color black, which is the key color of Final Fantasy XV, and the color of the coffee. Since there is already an Ebony coffee in New Zealand, they might not be able to use the name overseas. Justice Monster's release timing will be announced immediately following E3. A Day Zero Edition Active Time Report is planned for June 13th, the day before E3. Thus concludes news for May 2016, and with that, I would like to end today's episode of the Final Fantasy XV Countdown Retrospective. Thank you for tuning in. In the next episode, I'll be talking about news unveiled during E3 2016 and beyond, so look forward to that. And to be further updated on all things Final Fantasy, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!